It is so wonderful to be here with you. It is great to be back in Colorado after being in the swamp for weeks and weeks. It is wonderful to actually shake hands with people who know how to put them to work. You know, boys, men, gentlemen, your hands are a lot rougher than the hands that are all squishy and soft in Washington, D.C. And I notice a lot of ruggedness here at the Western Conservative Summit. Lots of Western hats, boots. I haven't noticed any men in lipstick or dresses, so I guess that means they're not serving Bud Light. But we are here gathered because we love our country, because we love freedom, because we believe that there is still something here that is worth fighting for, and we will not surrender the liberty that we have in the greatest nation this world has ever known. Our founding fathers were men of faith, and they put their faith on the line. They trusted in one another and pledged to one another their sacred honor and their lives. Our founding fathers knew the word and they lived it. And I think that that's something that we need to get back to here in America, being familiar with the spoken, with the written word of God, so we can then speak it into our lives, into our children's lives, into our children's children's lives, and into our nation. The word brings life, it brings strength, and it brings joy. And our founding fathers, they knew that God said, if you declare a thing, it shall be established. And so they declared their independence from tyranny before they were ever free. Our founding fathers took the words out of Habakkuk and said, we're going to write out the vision, and we're going to make it plain so others could catch this vision and help us run with it. Our founding fathers knew the word said that call those things that be not as though they were. They wrote all of this out so others could catch that vision and help them run with it. They knew the word said to declare the end of a thing from the beginning. And so they declared that independence, and then they went out and fought the battle. They had already celebrated that independence, believing that they had received it before they ever picked up a weapon. And then they saw it all the way through, knowing that it's not God who is going to supernaturally or magically do the work for us, but that we are co-heirs and co-workers with Christ, and that we have something to put our hand to see a result. And ladies and gentlemen, that is where I believe we are right now. All across the nation, I have people who approach me to say thank you. But what is more valuable than that appreciation is looking in your communities and seeing what you could put your hand to. I was a 33-year-old mom and a business owner. I was frustrated, and I let that frustration push me to do more, to motivate me to put my hand to something, to produce the results that I wanted to see. And that's what I want to encourage you to do tonight. We have elections that are always taking place, whether they're local, state, or federal, and to get involved in those. As Republicans, we're purists. We want to vote on election day, and that's really great because that's how it should be. But how's that working out for us? Democrats understand how to win the game because they set the rules. And it's time that we play by those same rules if we are going to start seeing results. And I'm not telling you to lie, steal, or cheat. I'm telling you, instead of chasing voters, chase ballots. We have to start voting when voting begins, because Democrats vote for weeks, and we vote one day for 12 hours. They know exactly when election day comes who to go after and chase. And after I just won by 546 votes, I would say that we have some work to do in Colorado, but it's going to take all of us, because there is a woke and weaponized group, corporations, and even a federal government that is out to destroy everything that we love about our country, that is out to destroy our children. Wokeism is infecting everything that we know right now, and the left hates everything that opposes their radical agenda. That's why they hate me. But I think more than just because I oppose their radical agenda, they hate me because they know I'm supposed to be one of them. I grew up in their system, under their failed policies, dependent on their programs. But I saw a better way out, and I said I could do a better job taking care of myself than government ever has. The left want to vilify you for speaking truth. In fact, they have traded the truth for a lie. That is why we are seeing this moral decay in our wonderful country. And I'll tell you how they trade the truth for a lie. It's when they say a man can be a woman, a man can be pregnant, a man can play in women's sports, or go against a woman in a boxing ring and crush her skull. It is when they say it's okay to sexualize our children. That is trading the truth for a lie, and that is a lie that we must stand against. They trade the truth for a lie when you see places like Canada say, you know what, we're done with the gender pronouns and all of this confusion with how many there are, and we're just going to presume that all of our students are non-binary, therefore they are all they, them. That's trading the truth for a lie. Isn't it interesting that even with all of this gender ideology and the sex changes and the transitions that are going on, doctors still only provide 2 gender surgeries? 2. But it doesn't stop there. There's wokeism in the corporate world. Bud Light or tranny fluid. They have lost $27 billion in revenue because you took a stand. And then Target. What the tuck? When they start providing and trying to sell tuckable bathing suits for tots, well, then that's when we take a stand and they start to lose tens of billions of dollars in market value. I am proud of you. I am proud of you for saying enough is enough. Because the wokeism still doesn't end in the corporate world, because it's infecting your federal government. And I will be sure that we defund every woke and weaponized department and program that is currently operating in the federal government. When they are promoting critical race theory from the Department of Education to our military, teaching Americans to hate one another because of the color of their skin. That is the most un-American thing you can do. When it's not okay to kneel and pray or stand with your hand on your heart for the flag that so many men and women have given their all for. to keep us free. But we have our military departments showing images of soldiers saluting a pride flag. Well, I think that it's time to remind woke Secretary Austin that there is only one flag that we salute in this country. Not only is the federal government woke, and hey, maybe that's why it's going broke, but it's also weaponized. Absolutely weaponized against you, and we see it everywhere we turn. From the 87,000 IRS agents that Nancy Pelosi signed up to come after each and every one of you, to spy into your bank accounts, to see if your Venmo has a charge for more than $600. The Ministry of Truth that they tried to implement. This Department of Disinformation where they appointed a truth czar. But don't worry, there was one thing in the last Congress that Nancy Pelosi could not take away from me, and that was my voice. And I was sure to speak loudly enough and inform you all enough that this 1984 Ministry of Truth could not stand in America. Nina Jankowicz resigned, and they ended the program. When they call moms and dads domestic terrorists for taking a stand for their children in school. Let me ask you, moms and dads, when's the last time your child came up to you and said, you know, when I grow up, I really want to go to work and just take hours of sensitivity training. I really just want to be hired because of my race. I really want them to look at the color of my skin, my background, my ethnicity, my sexuality, and I want them to say, that's why you get the job. No, they're fighting to be leaders. But this administration thinks that you're a domestic terrorist if you stand against those things. Things that have even led to a girl being raped, sodomized in a bathroom by a man saying that he was a woman in Loudoun County. This is dangerous, and that's why we are taking a stand boldly. And I want to encourage you not to be silent, because if we are silent in this time, we lose by default. You have to be bold, be courageous, because your courage is contagious. The federal government knows that fear is contagious, and that's why they try to use it to control you as much as humanly possible. But your courage has to be louder and stronger than that. We've seen the corruption in our federal government. In fact, I was just in a skiff yesterday viewing unclassified documents. That's different. Yeah, FBI Director Christopher Wray has unclassified documents that he is refusing you, the American people who pay his salary, to view. As of now, the contempt hearings are on hold, but each and every day that those documents are not released for your public viewing, I will be calling on Christopher Wray to be held in contempt of Congress. In these documents, we further learn the corruption of the Biden crime family. You've already heard about the 9 Biden crime family members who have received up to $10 million, or at least $10 million that we know of, from foreign adversaries. 20 shell companies to hide these transactions. There is no Biden family business other than crime and corruption. And now, from the documents I viewed yesterday, bribery. Hunter Biden sat on the board of an oil and gas company, Burisma. They said themselves, in quotes, "We know he's not smart." Again, in quotes, "He's stupid." But it's okay, because his dad will protect us. Ooh, it's a little damning for the big guy. A $5 million bribe. You have seen him publicly announce and brag about his threat with Victor Stoken. And that's all in there. It's all tied together. And what happened when you first learned about Biden threatening this guy to get fired, threatening to withhold funds if he didn't lose his job, this prosecutor? Well, they impeached President Trump over it. Let's just go after our political opponents. And then more corruption. Biden has classified documents. Hillary Clinton has classified documents. Good old Mike Pence has classified documents. But when they find President Trump has classified documents, who was a president, had the authority to declassify, they say Espionage Act. Indict him. They've raided his home. I haven't seen Biden's garage raided, not even the trunk of his Corvette. Hillary Clinton is still free. Complete corruption. And next week you'll see that once again, I am filing articles of impeachment for the big guy. Now, in the beginning of this Congress, I fought very hard alongside of my colleagues to make sure that we were able to represent you, that you were able to have a voice in Congress, that the imperial speakership would end this Congress, that Pelosi-era politics would be over, that your representatives would have a voice, would be empowered to make legislation better. It was a great and noble fight, and for 5 months we had a lot of wonderful unity over it. And then we came up against this debt ceiling, and everybody's shouting that the sky is falling, and Janet Yellen has 7 different dates where this is it, folks. I mean, she couldn't see the bank crashes, she couldn't see inflation, but she knows when we're gonna default. We asked her to provide the documents. How do you get this June 1st date, this June 5th date, this June 8th date? Nothing. So everyone is scrambling. And my colleagues and I in the House Freedom Caucus came up with a plan. We presented it at a press conference and gave it to the Speaker. This plan would save $4.8 trillion. $4.8 billion, excuse me. It was the Limit, Save, Grow plan. We had major cuts in here. The student loan bailout would end, hundreds of billions of dollars. We had COVID clawbacks that were legitimate. We had all sorts of programs in here that did not need your tax dollars that we can put an end to, like, let's say, $80 billion for the 87,000 IRS agents. Let's go ahead and take that money back. And then we were told on a holiday weekend that a deal had been made behind closed doors that we weren't invited to sit behind. And this debt ceiling deal came out. And immediately when we were informed about it, we said, well, we don't see the text, but this doesn't sound like a great deal. It extended the debt ceiling more than a year, and that was voluntary on Republicans' part, not even Joe Biden. Extended the debt ceiling to 2025. Current spending levels are $6 trillion. This is uncapped. after the presidential election, completely allowing Joe Biden to be off the hook. They said that there was administrative Paygo, so we could have some control here, except the part they're not bragging about is the OMB director has the authority to waive this administrative Paygo whenever she wants. So it doesn't really protect you, the American people. The IRS, well, they considered it $1.4 billion. So there's still about $78 billion to fund maybe 85,000 IRS agents. And this is stuff that frustrates me. And I'm going to take a little bit of extra time here because Jeff Hunt said I could. Thank you, sir. I want you to understand this. The first bill that we passed in the House was to defund the 87,000 IRS agents, knowing that we don't have the Senate and it's not going to pass that. We had an opportunity to actually pass this instead of going around the country and patting ourselves on the back for a messaging bill. And they cut 1% of the funding in this debt ceiling deal. The REINS Act was in the Limit, Save, Grow that was completely abandoned on the side of the road. And then the next week we get to Congress and they say, we're gonna vote on the REINS Act and we're gonna pass it. I said, oh, that's adorable because the Senate's not. So this is just another messaging bill, more failure theater that we are performing with our majority in the House. And I was very frustrated with this debt ceiling deal because we weren't even allowed to do our jobs with it. We fought to have amendments on the House floor to legislation, and leadership said, this bill is closed to amendments. No member is allowed to offer an amendment to this bill. I'm sorry, but leadership failed you on this one. They failed you times 4 trillion. They failed you by 6 trillion. Uncapped, they failed to deliver anything but talking points. They made threats to our colleagues who voted against this bill, even threatening legislation that protects tens of millions of Americans. My colleague Andrew Clyde from Georgia has the pistol brace bill that would stop the regulation that the ATF made. And this is something that would go into effect. This is something for disabled veterans. And they held that bill hostage because he voted against the debt ceiling. And so when we learned that they pulled his bill from the schedule that week, we shut the House floor down and took control of it. We said, you are not passing your messaging bills. You are not doing another thing on this House floor until American citizens are protected. Their Second Amendment rights are not a bargaining chip. So we have demanded that the first thing that happens next week when we go to Washington, D.C. is that bill is voted on and is passed. And we will continue to hold that control of the floor until we know that you're going to get the representation that we fought for in January. Leadership failed to hold the line on the debt ceiling, but we will not fail in holding the floor to protect your rights every step of the way. God bless you all, and thank you so much. Love you, Western Conservative Summit.